The family are in town to watch American Christian van der Velde defend his title in the USA Pro Challenge, but he's up against a very strong field. It includes Tour de France winner Chris Froome. The race is next. For road cyclists, nature is the Colosseum. And rarely has nature built a proving ground like Colorado, where roads are paved to the sky and summits are fit for a king. For the third edition of the USA Pro Challenge, the reigning Tour de France champion has crossed the Atlantic, with his team Sky ready to contest these mighty mountains. However, in his way, an extraordinary group of the world's greatest climbers. From a former Tour de France victor to a talented boulder-based squad seeking to defend their title. And a prodigal son from the Rockies looking to finish what he has started. For those who dream of mile-high glory at America's race, it all begins now. It's a beautiful, warm summer's day in the mountains of scenic Colorado as the world's top riders now make ready for the first of 7 days of top-class racing on the long road to Denver. This is the beautiful Maroon Bells Lake, and this is Aspen for the opening stage presented by Colorado.com. As the riders base themselves here, they're already underway. They got clear on the opening lap. It is 3 laps of a 22-mile circuit. These are the 3 riders who are setting the pace. I'm Phil Liggett, joining commentary with Paul Sherwin, and this is a list of the breakaways at the moment. Craig Lewis, Matt Cook, Ian Burnett, all Americans, the first attack of this year's race. Well, as we watch them, Paul, we're not surprised that there are 3 Americans breaking clear, because this is the flagship event here. We're expecting 1 million people to turn out over the next week of riding to watch these riders in action in what is an incredibly beautiful state.
It's an amazing state. What an incredible backdrop for a bike race here, Phil, and the field that has been brought together once again. The winner of the Tour de France just 3 weeks ago, Chris Froome, is here, and Peter Sagan, a race favourite here for many of the riders because he's such a prolific winner of stages.
So there's the peloton. Let's remind ourselves, first of all, as we take a look at the Colorado Tourism route map. And this is where we are today. We've already started the race, and we're halfway around the first of 3 laps today, 22 miles a lap. We go right up to Snowmass, and then we plunge back down into the centre of Colorado, of Aspen. And it's really hilly. You're either going up or going down today. And because of the altitude we're racing at, the riders are quite worried. If they haven't come here early enough, they will not be ready for the hard climbs up to Snowmass. Here's the undulations here. Starting down in Aspen at 7,900 feet. We come back, yes, but take a look at some of the heights. We top out at Snowmass just over 8,000 feet. 3 laps, 22 miles a lap. Let's have a look then at our Novo Nordisk weather report. It's a brilliant day for bike racing today. 79 the high, wind coming out of the south at 9 miles an hour. Partially cloudy, but so far the lovely white fluffy clouds that we really don't mind that they're in the sky. For the riders, it's going to be very warm. So at the moment, Paul, the riders heading up towards the Snowmass before they swing down. There's no prizes on the route, although it's the same circuit for the next couple of laps after this. There's no awards on this first map. It's sort of a recce map, isn't it, really?
Well, there are points at the end of the first lap for the first 3 riders to cross the line, and that's what they'll be looking to try and get themselves some points in the points competition. These 3 riders are in the back streets of Aspen right now. The main field is starting to pick up the pacemaking, but Craig Lewis was really the man who instigated that move, and he was joined very quickly by Matt Cook of James Hagens Berman, and then by Ian Burnett, and they've built up a huge lead right now of 2.5 minutes.
Well, this is the peloton, and one rider who we're expecting special things of, I think, today is Lachlan Morton. There he is, number 6. Look at the plaque he's put on his bike, Paul. He says, no problems. Well, just last week in the Tour de Utah, he ran out the best young rider. Garmin are really grooming this man for great things. Maybe he'll be looking for the best young rider award in this competition, which, by the way, last year was won by Joe Dombrowski, who's now part of the Sky cycling team setup. And Sky are here, and so is Joe.
Well, there's some very, very solid squads here, Phil. You mentioned Team Sky. Well, let's not forget they've got Chris Froome and Richie Porte. But they've said early on they're going to look after Dombrowski and Ian Boswell, the American riders, on their squad to see if they can help them get a high place in the overall standings. But I'm sure in the back of Chris Froome's mind, he would like to win this bike race, especially when he starts to see the magnificent backdrop of the state of Colorado.
Here's the three leaders. They went pretty soon after the start. There was a big flurry of action. 8 riders got clear straight from the gun, but very quickly they were reeled in. Craig Lewis was part of the original 8, and then he stayed away. Matt Cook joined him. Ian Burnett joined him of Jelly Belly. And this is now the sort of crowd we can access. We're coming off our first lap of 22 miles. This is where the riders started about 40 minutes ago. And now they're back in town. Next time around this loop, they're going to find they're fighting out for points in the King of the Mountains when they arrive up at Snowmass.
Yes, it's a 33-kilometre circuit around here, very rapid indeed, because the average speed, when you bear in mind they're climbing right up to the ski resort of Snowmass, is just inside of 25 miles an hour. These are the three leaders, and quite a story really when you look at the rider on the front there, Phil, Craig Lewis, because a couple of years ago he had a very, very nasty accident when he was riding an individual time trial at the Tour of Georgia. He was hit by a car, he punctures his lungs, he broke a number of bones in his body. It took a long time to go through rehabilitation, and he's now, I'd have to say, finally starting to get himself back up. Craig Lewis is the guy there on the front.
Yes, and there he is on the front at the moment in his Champion Systems team colours. As we head out of town now, little look over the shoulder there by Ian Burnett, just checking good sightings down there. Nobody at all in his vision. We now leave Aspen here at 7,900 feet and start our steady climb up to the top of Snowmass, where most of the riders were billeted out over the few days that they've been here, acclimatizing, many of the field having taken part in the recent Tour of Utah. And Jens Voigt was only saying yesterday, Paul, he feels now if the European riders who come here don't come and ride in the Tour of Utah, they've got no chance of winning this because of the mountains.
He explained the first time that he rode the USA Pro Challenge back in 2011, Phil. In fact, he only really started to feel good to the latter part of the race, which is why these riders take it so much more seriously now, and that's why they do come out a couple of weeks before. Peter Sagan, the great sprinter from Team Cannondale, he's a rider who will be looking to try and get himself a victory maybe today. You can see the Cannondale riders were actually sitting on the front of the main field there, Phil. In fact, they've changed their strip here for this event, and instead of the lime green that we got used to over the last couple of years, it's got a lot of black in there, and I think it looks extremely sharp. You can just about recognize them there on the front of the main field.
And if you watched our coverage of the Tour de France, you remember on that last day that Peter Sagan had, there's the Cannondale boys on the front right now. Peter Sagan had a green beaver beard, and it's no longer there. He shaved it off now. He said that was special for winning the green jersey in the Tour de France. Well, remember, this is the start of day one, but it's a perfect day for a bike race based in the same town, and this is the lovely ski setting, the winter town of Aspen. Right now it's the summer sportsman's town for cycle racing here. It's a 61 miles or 98-kilometre circuit today. 3 laps they will cover. We're going out on lap number 2. And the riders now know the course. They've now tested out. They've been worried about this course. It is a hot day, and hot before they started, because local time here, they got underway at 1 p.m. today. So it's the hottest part of the day right now. So as the 3 leaders continue to make a little bit of ground here now, we've got Craig Lewis setting the pace at the front for Champion System. The other 2 are going to work with him now as they head up towards Snowmass for the second time. Let's have a look then. First of all, the United Healthcare leader jerseys in the USA Pro Challenge. The Smashburger race leader's yellow jersey. It's the Cliff Bar Sprint jersey in green. The Nissan King of the Mountains jersey. The Colorado State University for the best young rider. And the First Bank sponsors the most courageous rider. Those are the jerseys up for grabs. Let's go back down to the action. Now, these are the leaders here. Craig Lewis, Matt Cook, Ian Burnett. The riders have got away soon after the start today. We're out on the second of 3 laps here, based in Aspen. Go up to Snowmass, which is the mountain resort, and then we come back down to Aspen. It's a tough opening stage today for the riders, and the weather has not let us down. A beautiful day all day today. We're looking here at Craig Lewis. He's been a very experienced pro. He spent 4 years on the World Pro Tour team at HTC, which changes name occasionally. and now rides in his second season with Champion System. And probably the most experienced of these three riders out in front. Matt Cook there from James Hagan's Berman team. He only joined the squad in July this year, having a very good season indeed. Well, the gap holding now, Paul. I think as we get through towards the midway section of the race, the halfway, the peloton now have got the feel for this course, and I think they won't let that break go much further.
No, they'll keep them in their midst, and it is very interesting to note that the team on the front is Team Cannondale, and I have to say this change of jersey for them for the event here, the USA Pro Challenge, it's a very sharp jersey they've come to represent the Team Cannondale.
Well, they're leading for Peter Sagan at the moment. See if he can stay with the peloton to the finish.
Notice Jens Voigt over on the right-hand side. I have to say Radio Shack have also brought a very solid squad of riders here. And not too far back, you can see the black and blue jerseys there of Team Sky.
Just a little bit of a check here. Oh, the three riders now, they've got all the following cars behind. Good sign, they've got more than a minute's lead. In fact, it's still hovering just over 2 minutes at the moment as they go up towards Snowmass for the second time. Let's go a bit further down the mountain and we can have a look at the peloton. Well, in that peloton is the defending champion of this race. And in fact, he's never been outside the top two in the 2 years we have had this race. So let's go and learn some more as we take a look at today's athlete profile presented by New Belgium Brewing Company. This is all about Christian Vande Velde. He's 37. He's chosen this event to be his last race in America. He retires at the end of the year. His strength is racing for the overall, and certainly in this race he's been exceptional. Had to abandon this year's Tour de France with a crash and then another crash, and in the end he had to give best on stage 7. Well, as we're looking here at the peloton, we stood at the Christian Vande Velde boys on the left in the blue. In the centre is Peter Sagan's Cannondale boys. But we're talking about Christian Vande Velde. Let's go back to the start earlier today when our Steve Schlanger caught up with Christian Vande Velde.
Christian, after crashing out of the Tour de France, what's your condition coming in here to Colorado?
I'm a bit behind. My knee's been bugging me quite a bit, but that said, I got through Utah pretty well. So I made some serious strides in the last 2 weeks. So right now I'm unknown. I mean, if I could get through these first 3 stages, I think I'll be in with a shot. But you know, I got to get through these first 3 stages.
Your team is one of the big favorites coming into this race. So how you gonna win it?
Just by being a strong team, just like we did. Just by being aggressive, just taking the bull by the horns, pretty much. I mean, that's what we did last year, and that's what we plan to do this year too. I mean, we have a lot of good guys on this team, a lot of guys who have a lot of ambition. So we just got to go for it.
Heading into retirement, this is your last race on home soil. You're the defending champion. What does this moment mean for you?
I don't know. I'm trying not to think of it too much because I want to still need to be in the moment of actually racing, not the moment of just taking these things in, because this is a nasty race. But at the same time, I mean, I couldn't be in a better place with the fans that we have here in Colorado are second to none. So yeah, I'm blessed in that regard for sure.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Yes, Christian was telling me yesterday he has a great supportive family and they're all travelling here. I've seen his wife and his family here already. I know Dad John is on his way too to watch him ride his last race in the United States. But he has a good team. There's no doubt that Garmin Sharp can win this race with somebody like Tommy Danielson, perhaps even Andrew Talansky, who had a brilliant first Tour de France with a 10th place finish there. Or even Lachlan Morton, who we've already seen with no problems on his saddle. He's another rider who could come good in this race over the next 7 days. It's a very difficult race this year. If you can't climb mountains, well, I think it's safe to say you can't win this race. There he is, Christian Vande Velde, now getting the feel of the day. This is the opening day, remember, basing in Aspen for 3 circuits up to Snowmass and back, a total of 61 miles by the end of this day. And these boys now beginning to lift the tempo just a little bit. Still have those 3 men up front, Craig Lewis, Matt Cook, Ian Burnett, but the boys now have decided to take a greater interest in the escape of the day. So we'll take a break, rejoin us here in the hills of Aspen. So as we look down on the race, this is the back of the race, and this is the winner of the Tour de France, wearing number 11, because number 1 is the defending champion of this race, Christian van der Velde. That is Chris Froome, just looking for a little bit of help. He's gone back with Joe Dombrowski, who is the new import onto this team. He rode in this race last year, and he won the Best Young Rider, and Team Sky noticed that and snapped him up, and he now rides on Team Sky. He's having a chat here with the doctor's car. Now, Chris Froome has found acclimatizing a little bit difficult to the high altitude here. The secret is not to come in the day before, but it looks to me as though Chris has personally guided Joe back to the car, and it is Joe who has come back here for the visit to the doctor's surgery. But it looks okay. As he freewheels away from the car. He's now gone away back up towards the field. Nice to see Chris Froome was looking after the young talent on the team of Sky. I think they're putting a lot of pressure on Joe. I think they would like to see Joe try and be the winner if there is going to be a winner on Team Sky. Everybody's looking to Froome and Richie Porte, but we might all be surprised by the end of the week. Let's go back up front. This is the head of the peloton, getting onto the climbs up towards Snowmass. That's the swing away off Owl Creek now. As these are the 3 leaders, all the American flags showing us one nation on the attack today, with 3 different teams here. Champion System and the James Hagen's team. They've got a very good rider on their squad from Colombia, Jania Acevedo. Watch out for him as these hills continue. And the Jelly Belly rider is Ian Burnett on the front just now.
Well, what's important for these 3 riders in the front, Phil, is once they come to the summit of Snowmass this time, there will be points available for the KOM, the King of the Mountains.
Second place in the Tucson Bicycle Classic. A little bit of an attack here. This is the way we expect it. This is Matt Cuck deciding to launch, because we're now chasing the Nissan King of the Mountains points here. And there's the top. It looks as though he is going to take it. Matty Cook, the most experienced, he goes over the top of the first mountain pass in the Nissan King of the Mountains competition.
Well, that was a very savage attack there. That will get him maximum points, and we went over the summit of the climb there, the climb up to Snowmass. Only graded at 4.5%, but the altitude when you get to the top is 8,340 feet.
Well, as we watch the leaders up front, Joe Dombrowski still dangling off the back as the riders stay and get together. There he is, and looks as though he's still in amongst the car, concentrating a little bit. Not too sure. Do you think he's had a nosebleed? Because he's put cotton wool up his nose here.
Yeah. Well, he went back. The team, the race doctors looked after him perfectly to get him back into this race. This is the guy who I think Team Sky have got an awful lot of faith in for the rest of this bike race here. He was the best young rider in this event last year. Finished 12th overall in the Amgen Tour of California. That's when he was riding for the Bontrager Trek team. You can see that actually he had a nosebleed.
Symptomatic of altitude racing this, and he's probably burst a little blood vessel in his nose there. It's all over his face. But anyway, he's coming back up to the race.
Well, you can see the team came back to help him out. Chris Froome in person came back to bring the race doctor up to look after Dombrowski. He's going to have to find a little bit of courage here this afternoon to stay in the bike race, because a lot of people are tipping this man for a high finish in the overall standings.
He's just gone past there, the United Healthcare rider. That is Bazana. As they get back into the peloton, there's the peloton. There's 1 point left in the Nissan King of the Mountains competition for the leader from the peloton here, and somebody has nipped off the front to try and snatch it as well. So somebody's been reading the rule book, Paul, because that's where the point will go, to that one lone rider there.
Yeah, you can see the red kite over the road there. That's the Nissan King of the Mountains point. They take a right-hand turn there and then drop back down. Well, you can see number 11 there, Chris Froome. Amazing to see Chris Froome and Richie Porte, Phil. They dropped back to the back end of the main field to look after Joe Dombrowski.
Well, Chris Froome coming off the Tour de France, where he got 3 great stages, not least the climb of Mont Ventoux, which was a classic win for him, and he led the Tour from the Pyrenees through the Alps and then right down to the finishing line. But this is the first time he and the Sky team have been in the USA Pro Challenge, and we're expecting big things. That was a real nice gesture for the stars of the team to go back for the young charge Joe Dombrowski there. So as they come over the top, they've now swung around to the right, so they're making their descent now on a different road down towards Aspen again. They'll rejoin the road which is on their right shoulder, which they turned off of earlier on. So as they continue down there, well, everybody's been saying, as he won the Tour de France, he's bound to win the USA Pro Challenge. Well, that's not necessarily the case, so let's find out for ourselves now as we talk to him.
Is there any chance, if you're going good, you could win a stage, maybe win the overall race? Any possibility of those things happening?
There's a possibility, yeah, but I'd say it's a pretty slim chance at the moment. I am a good bit off where I was at the Tour. But yeah, let's see how the race pans out. It's amazing what a bit of motivation and good morale can do. I think I'm going to be helping possibly one of the younger riders, like Joe Dombrowski, who came 4th last year. I know he's really motivated for this race, and it's a great opportunity for him to get a result. I mean, it feels a bit like a home crowd for him, a home event, and I think for myself, I'm not too sure where I am physically after the Tour. I've had a bit of recovery now. I'm going to start building back up and use this race to build towards the second part of the season. But yeah, if I can help one of my teammates like Joe to get into that leader's jersey, that would definitely make my week. Yeah.
Well, that was recorded earlier, of course, and we've seen evidence of that right now as Chris Froome has gone back to help Joe Dombrowski. He's only just on 21.5 years of age, Joe is, and he's joined Sky this year, and he was with the Bontrager Livestrong team last year, which is a young team. It's a nursery pro team, and boy, they produced some great pictures, and now they've put the best rider into the Team Sky. It looks like they've got the confidence in that rider, but for the moment he looks to be in a spot of bother here, a nosebleed on the second climb up to Snowmass. We'll see in a moment. The nearby Frying Pan River is 14 miles of gold medal trout fishing, and in 2010 Snowmass made headlines when the bones of a mammoth from the Ice Age were discovered. Experts excavated the site. They discovered even more, including other mammoths, mastodons, well-preserved plant matter, and the Wood Tavern, by the way. The writer Hunter S. Johnson used to hang out there. That was the Woody Creek Tavern, just up the road from the race route where we are now, because we're bound back towards Aspen right now with the peloton, the breakaway inside 2 minutes to the best, and they're a little bit further down the road. Just watching the riders here as they swap bottles as the peloton continues to speed down off the mountain top now. It is going to be Tom Zerbel is the rider here at the back. He is this year's national time trial champion, so he might be looking forward to the time trial in Vale towards the end of the next weekend, Paul, but he doesn't like mountain time trial. That's pretty hilly. It's a very, very hilly time trial. A lot of people saying that's going to be one of the pivotal moments of the race this year when we go up. It's about a 10-mile uphill climb outside of Vale, and again, the altitude is going to be the order of the day. Yeah. And it could be the defining stage to look at who's going to win this bike race overall. Breakaway today started by Craig Lewis. It was a tough way to start the day. He had to get in a break of 8. They were all caught. He stayed ahead. He was then joined by Matt Cook and Ian Burnett. The gap is 1:55, the latest time check we've had from the race. So they're holding their own just now. They've got themselves into a nice little rhythm here. But remember, they're racing at altitude. Now, a lot of the American riders live in Colorado. They're used to these mountains. But the profile is a difficult one. Always either going up or down. We're heading towards McLean Flats at the moment as we're completing our second circuit. Yeah, we've got the first sprint point out of the way, and the first King of the Mountains point out of the way as well. Looming up on the horizon is the next King of the Mountains point at McLean Flats. 54 kilometers covered at that point. And nice to see the South Africans flag just over on the right-hand side. Yes, no South African riders in this event, but they've had a tremendous season, that's for sure. With Darrell Impey getting the yellow jersey in the Tour de France for a couple of days. He rides for the Orica Green Edge team. They've been racing over here, but they've gone back over to Europe. They didn't continue on from the Tour of Utah.
Well, Michael Matthews, their sprinter, showing the form that he had when he became World Under-23 road racing champion, because he took himself 2 stage victories in the recent Tour of Utah. And I think that might well be the turning point for Michael Matthews to become one of the top sprinters on the international circuit once again.
Number 4 there is Rowan Dennis. Talking of Australians, Rowan started his first Tour de France, but he found it a bit too tough and didn't make it to the finish in Paris. But he's a very young, talented rider, and a long career lies ahead of him. Peloton swinging up as we head up towards the McLean Flats now. 34 miles is where we'll be at the top of that climb.
The gap is now starting to tumble. It's down to 1 minute and 45 seconds. I think that, Phil, is because the teams now who are taking this race seriously are starting to put a little bit of pressure on the front end of the main field and starting to wind it up. But it'll be interesting to see how Team Sky do perform, because, you know, when we talked to Jens Voigt the other day, he said how important it is to come here well in advance of the event, and how important it is to, in fact, race before the USA Pro Challenge. Team Sky only rocked up here on the Wednesday, so they won't be yet quite getting themselves acclimatized to the altitude.
Well, this is a nice little climb, this one, as they're actually climbing right round to the left here. And it's shown on the breakaway that they've started now to bring them back a little bit. They're timing it, there's no doubt about that. We're heading back towards Aspen itself, and I think that gap might be not much more than a minute once we get through that finishing line and hear the bell for the last lap. So as the riders continue on, I think we can have a look at the USA American standings, see how the top Americans are faring. Of course, this is day 1, and this is the USA Cycling American standings. This was how it finished a year ago. Van der Velde won the race. TJ Van Garderen finished 2nd. Levi Leipheimer 3rd. A clean USA sweep. Tommy D, as we call him, Tommy Danielson, is on form and could be the winner this time around. He was 7th last year. Matthew Boucher, he's not riding this year. He finished in 8th place. Back with the 3 leaders now, heading up the McLean Flats climb. As you can see, those fluffy clouds we're talking about, a little bit of precipitation coming into them, but we hope the rain doesn't come today. It has been popping in at times towards late afternoon. A kilometre to go now to the top of the McLean Flats climb. Remember, it was Cook who got the first point, so he's got 4 points to the good. So just over a kilometre to the top then, and then we will next see will be Aspen after the descent here. It's a tough climb, between 3/4 of a mile this climb. As we go over the top, there'll be 26 miles left to ride. 3.1% average gradient pull, but look at the height. We're nearly at 8,000 feet here.
It's 2,500 meters in altitude up here, and that's a real rarefied earth. When we got over the top of the first climb, it was Matt Cook, the fastest man there, to get himself the 4 points, ahead of Craig Lewis and Ian Burnett. And they will hope to survive a little bit longer to try and build themselves a lead. And the man at the end of the day will look to try and get himself the first King of the Mountains.
Nice to see the Union flag there, but no riders from the UK up here, because the first 4 riders on the last climb were all from the USA. Tyler Rem finished with that 1 point, just slipping ahead from the peloton. Now, if Matt Cook can get himself 4 more points here, he'll be setting himself fair, but there's still 1 more lap to come for the first leader's jersey, which will await him at the finishing line in the Nissan King of the Mountain. So it's a 4th category climb, this, Paul, so it's not only the first 4 riders score. The 4th is the lowest ranking of all of the mountain passes.
Yeah, but tomorrow, Phil, there's some very nasty climbs and a lot of points available, but for these guys, they're looking for a bit of early glory. They're inside the final kilometre, about 500 metres to go to the summit. Now, last time, I think that Cook caught them unawares when he launched that attack, because they weren't expecting him to make that move. Now, they'll know that he's got that very good jump, so they'll keep a very close eye on him.
Well, we can hear from Race Radio the main field just past the 1 kilometre climb to the top, so they're not that far behind. These boys have slowed right down here. Looks to me as though they might be doing something rather dangerous, and that's jockeying for position for the sprint and not getting on with the attack, and that will see their time tumble.
Well, it's down to 1 minute and 40 seconds as we start to see that there's little accelerations coming from the rider on the front there.
That's Cook, yeah.
Just gets out of the saddle. 10 kilometers to go is not to the end of the race, it's to the end of the race, the circuit.
Yeah, next time it'll be, there's a Friday on the right there, as 10 kilometers to go will be next time up the climb for the riders, so there's 6 miles from downtown Aspen just now. They're all ganging up on Matt Cook. He's the rider on the far side in the red jersey. Bringing them through here is Ian Burnett of Jelly Belly, and Matt has gone. So he's really got some powerful kicks, but he's chased this time by the most experienced man in the break, Craig Lewis. 4 years he was on the World Pro Tour team, but he hasn't got the answer here, so 4 more points for Cook.
He got a very good jump there. In fact, Craig Lewis was waiting for that move to happen, but he just did not have the response, so he'll have to settle for second place, as again Cook gets himself maximum points, and that'll give him 8 points on the day, with 2 more King of the Mountains points on the final lap of the race.
1 point left from the peloton. So we'll just see if Tyler Wren can clean up from the back of the field there. They're about 500, maybe 600 meters splitting the race now. That is all. As we get the best view in the house from the helicopter here. Looking down at the big peloton, twisting its way up the climb of McLean Flats. The first 3 are over the top. They're bound now, 10 kilometers for them to go, as they head back down to Aspen, where they'll hear a bell when they get there for the last lap. Yes, and there he is, TJ Van Garderen, number 31. He was 3rd in this race in 2011. He was 2nd last year, so if he continues the progression, by the time we get to Denver on Sunday, he will be the winner. And he's making no secret of the fact that his team, BMC, have come here to try and get TJ across the finishing line first. Well, as he settles in the peloton, we talked to him earlier, so let's listen to what he had to say.
Describe your goal for this race.
It's pretty simple. We want to win. This race is a big deal for us. The team's really motivated. They were super strong in Tour of Utah. The team's really, they're firing. And we got a hit squad here, and we want to take this race seriously and come away with a win.
Where do you think your biggest challenge is going to come from?
Garmin. Garmin has 3 GC guys, or 4 actually, if you include Lachlan, who had a strong ride at Utah. You got Tom Danielson, just won Utah. You got the defending champion in Christian Vandevelde, Andrew Talansky. They have some heavy hitters on that team, and they're going to be hard to control.
Yes, well, TJ Van Garderen there, he's got his whole family to support him because he's recently come back to live in Aspen, and his in-laws are here, and recently given birth to their first child this year, and so they've got permanent babysitters in town now. As we're looking at the 3 leaders here, they continue on. The gap is holding still, but I think the rider's waiting for the start of the final lap now before they run them down. Don't think they can actually stay away. Well, as we were telling you about TJ Van Garderen, his father, by the way, also is on the neutral service motorbikes here. So I think we can talk now with Steve Schlanger, and he can tell us a little bit more at the finishing line about TJ Van Garderen. Steve.
Yeah, Phil, I was talking to him before the race, and he said that winning the Amgen Tour of California earlier this year was really a turning point. He had always felt that he had the chops to not only compete but excel in this sport, to win big races, but he had that little seed of doubt until he finally sealed the deal in California, won a big race domestically. He felt that he took that with him overseas, and now back here in the States, he not only feels he can win the USA Pro Challenge, but he's much more comfortable, much more confident in his entire process leading through this week.
Well, we're going to find out, that's for sure. His father, Marcel, is on the neutral service motorbike, so he won't be just there to help his son. He'll be there to help everybody who has a problem in that front group. Peloton keeping over to the left of the road. The winds coming out of the south are very slight today, even though they do climb up from 7,900 to above 8,000 feet each time they come out of Aspen. Now we're heading downhill towards Aspen itself. Big crowd in Aspen. They've been there enjoying the scene all day today. Party days yesterday as well, with bicycle races in the main streets of Aspen, keeping the crowd entertained. It's been a good start for the race, that's for sure.
Ben Jacksmain was sitting at the back there, number 138 for Team James Hagens Berman. Their man, though, Phil, I think they'll be counting on later on in this event, of course, is going to be Hanye Acevedo.
Well, there's cloud just sweeping in, but it's okay. We got a little bit of a downpour towards the end of the day yesterday, and that's the mountain weather for you. But I think today we're going to make it through. The race is scheduled to finish just before 4 o'clock here in Colorado. And so we should get away with it. The Americans, not surprisingly, starting off with the attacks. I'm a little bit surprised, Paul, that peloton hasn't sort of ripped itself apart a little bit more. Maybe the last lap will alter my opinion there.
I think it's all going to happen on the last lap.
So as they continue here this is the Optum Kelly Benefit Strategies team here. As they continue on, and the rider we're looking at is, I think it's Jess Anthony it is there, yeah. As they continue now, we're running away from the climb just for the moment as we get into downtown Aspen. 3 riders still clear. The second King of the Mountain taken by Matt Cook. He's having a good day up in them there hills. We'll see you in a moment. We're looking down the beautiful valley here now, heading back into Aspen with the 3 leaders as we come away from the delightful mountain town of Snowmass. It was developed back in 1967. These 3 boys still clear. Craig Lewis, Matt Cook, Ian Burnett, all American riders. The 4th place in the King of the Mountain, again taken by Tyler Wren at the top of McLean Flats. But the bad news is that the gap is down 1 minute 30 seconds now for these 3 riders. So the peloton, I think, are timing their catch to perfection. 3 kilometers to the finishing line. Next time through, it'll be 3 kilometers to the finish of the stage. A very different race towards the line. It's 3 22-mile laps today around, based on Aspen. We're calling it the Aspen Snowmass stage because we go up to Snowmass and back to Aspen.
Yeah, they're just 3 kilometers away from the end of the second stage, and then they'll be lining themselves up for the final climb up to Snowmass. And I think we'll start to see some fireworks once those riders do get to that final climb, because there's a lot of riders who will want to try and get themselves rid of the sprinters who are still comfortably sitting in the pack. We've had a very tough day so far, but it's a real lumpy day. You know, they've done something like 2,600 meters of elevated climbing if you add all the peaks and troughs out on the profile here this afternoon. But it's all going to be about that final climb of the day, I think.
Yeah, the sprint line is based on the finishing line. We've had one where the riders will sprint out small points, all going towards the green jersey Cliff Bar sprint competition. And the first riders over the line get 5, 3 and 1 point. So these 3 boys will sprint for that. Matt Cook is searching for that King of the Mountains leaders jersey. He's won both the climbs so far and built himself a little lead over Craig Lewis of 2 points. This is the main field now, but they're monitoring it, I think. We'll see a change of action once we get the bell next time through the finish line. I think we're going to see a very different peloton here.
Yeah, we'll see the teams of the climbers come to the front and try and split the main field. I have a feeling we might see something coming from Team Radio Shack. I'd like to see Andy Schlick riding to the front end of this main field here this afternoon, because I think he's got to ride hard over the final part of this season if he's got any chance at all of winning the Tour de France for a second time.
Up onto these are the non-counting undulations of this race. There's no Nissan points at the top here, but these boys are still finding the climbs here, bite out at those legs. Beautiful warm day here, even as we move in towards the middle of the afternoon.
Quite amazing quite amazing to think when you think about Aspen and how famous it is around the world. The population of Aspen, Phil, at the last census was only 5,000 people.
Big influx in the summer, and of course in the winter too. It's a big ski town. We've had world downhill ski events here. We've had mountain bike racing here in the hills as well. It's a real sporting town, Aspen. Ian Burnett there, tall man, big pressure on him today for Jelly Belly. He's probably the youngest rider here, these 3, 26 years of age.
Well, he's a very good individual time trialist. He finished 7th on the time trial stage of the Tour of Hilo. You can see by the size of him. But I don't think the time trial in this race is going to suit him, though, because the time trial, once we get down to Vale, is going to be a 15-kilometer uphill time trial, almost 10 miles uphill.
Gently downhill, heading towards Aspen. As we saw there, just sitting off the back was Juan Jose Haedo from Argentina, stage winner here in the past in the Amgen Tour of California. So they're now twisting their way down to the valley. Then we'll be heading in to Aspen. Once we get through, we'll hear the bell. There will be a sprint for the points competition. We'll be there to see it, as will you. See you in a moment. Well, let's go back down to the action now. The riders are in Aspen, and moments ago, this is what happened as they heard the bell for the start of the final lap. It was, of course, a sprint, and it was Craig Lewis taking out the points here in the Cliff Bar points sprint competition. Going over in second place was Ian Burnett and Matt Cook. He's concentrating on the mountains today, so he's gone across there in third place. Now we'll see what the peloton does about this at the moment, because now the chase has got to commence to close this gap down very, very quickly indeed. Well, as the peloton get the cheers from the crowd here, they get the bell, Paul, and it's quite obvious who they're planning on winning the stage with. Cannondale setting the pace. I'm laughing because you may have seen the heads of Peter Sagan amongst the crowd there, and it's the Cannondale boy now. So they're going to feel pretty confident. This race, to me, hasn't gone the way it was planned today with some riders. They're still all together.
Just looking at the camera lens there, Phil, there's a few drops of rain seems to have come down. But it doesn't look as if we're going to get the storm that we got in the latter part of yesterday afternoon. But looking at this main field, now is the serious action we're looking for. And it obviously is going to be for Peter Sagan. That's why you've got all of the riders from Team Cannondale right at the front end of the main field, looking very sharp indeed.
Yes, well, this is 33 kilometres now before we finish, or 22 miles to go. 3 leaders have been clear since about the 6th mile of the race today. Leafy suburbs of Aspen as the riders now head out towards the airport again. They make that left up towards Snowmass, where we have the hilly circuit. Craig Lewis getting down to business here. The champion system. Most experienced man in the breakaway. He's been a professional since 2005. He's had 4 years on a World Pro Tour team as well. This is his 2nd year riding for Champion System, who spend a lot of time racing in the Asian countries with great success, I might add. As we're looking here, these 3 riders as they get on the way. As we look at these 3 riders, one of our prolific sponsors of this race is the New Belgium Brewing Company. They're based in Fort Collins, and that's where the race goes towards the end next weekend. Let's have a look at more of that. Yes, and we'll be paying Fort Collins a visit towards the end of this tour, which ends on Sunday in Denver. There is Jens Voigt, our favourite from the Tour de France, our favourite wherever he races, really. He's looking seriously to try and win this race, he's told us, so we'll be interested to see. He's had a very successful Tour of Utah. Now we'll see what he can bring that strength to the USA Pro Challenge. He's riding alongside TJ Van Gardner there in the centre of those riders, number 31. 3rd for TJ in the first event here, 2nd last year. Now in this 3rd edition, is he going to take the final step required on the winner's podium? Well, these boys now, they're trying to glance and see if they can catch a glimpse of the riders coming around that bend there. The airport is down in the valley, but they're hanging on to not a big lead here. It's fluctuating between 125 and 131. Now, these are the Colombian riders here. This is Pantano at the front and Chalapud, number 84. Seem to have got split off here. A bit of a problem at the moment, unless they're good at riding across country. But certainly the hard way to go. We're expecting a lot. It's a young Colombian team, but we know Colombians can climb mountains. And boy, this is a major team for this particular course. Atapuma is their leader, number 81. If you catch him, he won at the 6th stage of the Tour of Poland, and is a man who I think will relish the mountains that come near this race all week. So these are the 3 riders clear. Are they going to stay away and fool those who think they're going to bring them back? Or will they be caught before they get to the top at Snowmass just ahead? Welcome back to stage 1 of the USA Pro Challenge, presented to you by Colorado.com. Today we're basing ourselves in Aspen. We're visiting Snowmass every lap. We're on the final lap now before the riders return to Aspen. And the gap has come down to 1 minute and 15 seconds. The pressure all being put on by the riders from Cannondale, the riders of Peter Sagan. Here are the leaders: Craig Lewis, Matt Cook, Ian Burnett, 3 Americans who set the pace since the 6th mile today. Let's have a look how it all got underway. It was a lovely start today downtown in Aspen around 1 o'clock. This was the Jello Belly sign-on, the defending champion from last year, Christian van der Velde, and one of the big crowd favourites and the favourite today, Peter Sagan. A big cheer for him. Then the full field of 16 teams, many of them Tour de France teams, rolling away as we took our drive on the Nissan Leaf electric drive to the finish. The field doing a couple of laps of the town before they got underway, and not long after they did get underway, we formed our breakaway. 3 riders getting their first time check there of 50 seconds. They built it to 2 minutes 15. Craig Lewis, Matt Cook and Ian Burnett. Bit of a problem for Joe Dombrowski today, the best young rider of 1 year ago, now riding for Team Sky. He had to plug his nose there. It was pouring blood from the atmosphere as he climbed up to over 8,000 feet. He's paid a visit to the medical car and he's back in the main field at the moment as the field now concentrate on bringing these 3 men back. The last time check I've heard, Paul, 1 minute and 15 seconds for these 3. The pressure is on by the peloton. We're on the long steady drag now, which takes us up to just below Snowmass village.
But every time we get a chance to glimpse back at the main field, you can start to see the teams getting themselves organised. Team Sky have always got 4 or 5 riders close to the front. Team BMC as well, and that has an effect of picking up the tempo in the main field, which is why that gap is starting to come down. But it has to come down pretty rapidly now as these guys still hold on to 1 minute and 10 seconds with 25 kilometres to go and 5 kilometres to the King of the Mountains. That's a long time to hope to survive.
Yeah, this is a steady drag and it doesn't go down at all, but it's only got a 4th category tag, which is the lowest of all the mountain classifications of the week. The only winner up here so far has been Matt Cook. He's won both of the he won the last climb and he won the McLean Flats climb. Now he's looking for the 2nd points here at Snowmass. We're going up to our highest point at the moment as we head up towards Snowmass. We turn short of the village and we start descending down the other side back towards McLaren Flats. But on the last circuit now, as the riders behind must put the pressure on at this point.
Well, just to give you a bit of information, Phil, we've done 9,000 feet of climbing so far today.
Well, we've seen the Matt Cook won the first climb of Snowmass. He also won the 2nd climb of Snowmass. Overall now he's scored 8 points. Chris Lewis has got himself 6. Craig Lewis, sorry, has got himself 6. Ian Burnett 4. And Tyler Wren just 2 points. He swept up from the peloton on both occasions.
Yep, he's obviously looking to get himself some points there, but you can see that very compact main field now is starting to get very well organised. It's still Team Cannondale doing the bulk of the pacemaking. They've obviously got a lot of confidence in their man, Peter Sagan.
Well, in all honesty, I think the race has gone the way of Peter Sagan just now. They haven't ripped the way into this course like I really expected them to do. They've got that small group of riders away to take the pressure off. Now they've got to catch them up before Sagan can win the day. And we now rejoin the action here now as we go through the Cliff Bar feed zone. This is for the last time now as they line up for the climb up to Snowmass. The gap is continuing to descend, 65 seconds the last one. This is Owl Creek Road. The rides have been climbing up for the last few days, checking it out. It does have speed humps on it, which makes it a bit difficult, but they are going up, so they're not hitting them at high speed at all. They descend down the other side of the slopes here, over to the right shoulder of the riders themselves. Just sat on the back here, number 32, that's Steve Cummings, the British rider here, former winner of a stage in the Tour of Spain. Nice to see Steve Cummings on the back, Paul. Not nice to see him on the back, but you know what I mean. Winner of the Tour of Spain stage a couple of years ago, and always happy when he's racing in America. He's on the top team here, BMC.
Well, they've got a lot to do later on because I'm sure TJ Van Garderen would like to add the US Pro Challenge to his pedigree, especially after winning in the early part of this year the Amgen Tour of California. Well, he's started off in his participation, Van Garderen, in this race with a 3rd place, moved up to 2nd place last year. There's only one way to go now, isn't it?
There is.
Up.
Not much left for him, really, is there? We'll see. His whole family putting pressure on him, that's for sure, because they live in Aspen, and father-in-law, and his father's on the race, actually. They're just near the front, about 5 riders down, the Cannondale rider, as we look there at the riders on the front. They're being tracked by our Team Novo Nordisk tracker right now at the front, so we can pick out the riders easily enough, and that is Peter Sagan in the right position, Paul, that's for sure.
Sitting in 5th place at the back end of a long line of Cannondale riders. He obviously is feeling very confident now as he gets closer to the summit of this climb. He's beginning to realise that this could very well be a stage for the sprinters. Surprisingly, though, sitting at the back there, number 11, and that, of course, was Chris Froome. I think he's also trying to find his altitude legs here this afternoon.
Yeah, that was the number that Stephen Roach wore when he won the Tour de France back in 1987, of course. One is reserved, so next year that will be the number that Chris will wear next year in the Tour de France as the defending champion. This year, the number 1 being worn by last year's winner of this event, Christian van der Velde, and this is his final race in America because he'll go back to Europe to finish his season and then he will retire. So the pressure on him to defend his championship for Garmin Sharp.
But he leads a very strong Garmin Sharp squad, Phil, very full of strength and depth.
Yes, it's very true, actually. That is really a tremendous group. Well, as we look down the peloton, now we did see on the climb there the bloodied nose of Joe Dombrowski, who was back at the medical car. So let's see if Steve Schlanger. Steve, do you know any more about it?
Yeah, Phil, I did talk with Team Sky, and basically they said it's just a case of the altitude. Now, Joe is from Virginia, still spends some time there, but this is his first full year living and riding in Europe. And he's got a nice apartment in Nice, spends a lot of time on the French Riviera, as you might imagine. We're a little higher than the French Riviera here, above 8,000 feet. They feel that he's only been here about a week, still adjusting, but he's going to be okay and should be fine for the remainder of the race.
Good news, because he's clearly earned the support of his illustrious teammates. Number 11 there, for example, Chris Froome. He went and guided him back to the doctor's car, as we saw earlier. And Chris has put a bit of pressure on the youngster's shoulders. He's only 21.5 years of age, because Chris has said maybe he can get a win here, taking the pressure off himself as well, no doubt. But just look at this now as the race is beginning to be stretched out. The pressure is on. All right, well, Saturday, NBC takes you to iconic Saratoga Racecourse for the running of the Travers Stakes. Don't miss a celebration of the best in horse racing. A summer at Saratoga continues Saturday at 4:30 Eastern here on NBCSN. So the race regroups a little bit, but the pressure's on as we move up towards the race for the points here at the King of the Mountains. And Matt Cook has gone. He's going to get his 3rd win in these mountains, and a nap hand there because it's 4 points again for him as he'll go over the top in 1st place. Building himself a nice little lead here for James Hagen's Berman team. He could well be looking forward to a Nissan King of the Mountains red jersey to replace his team colour tomorrow when we start out from Aspen bound for Breckenridge. And looks as though Burnett was in 3rd place there as Craig Lewis got 2nd. 20 kilometres to go. That's 12 miles to the finish for these three. The gap continues to plummet. The peloton now are beginning to turn the screw that little bit tighter. Well, this is today's aerial view presented by Drift Cameras. We're looking down in the valley here, mountains all around us in Aspen, Colorado. The riders heading down from Snowmass now, where Matt Cook got the points at the top. He's won the last 3 climbs. The 4th place, by the way, significant perhaps for the future. Richie Port of Team Sky going over the top in that 4th place and getting 1 point. These are the 3 riders in the breakaway, Lewis, Cook and Burnett. Well, Paul, a minute now the gap, and Richie Port claiming the single point over the top of that last climb.
It's rather interesting to see that Mr. Port is being very attentive at the front end of the main field, but so far Team Cannondale in their new jerseys here at the USA Pro Challenge, Phil, have not got any friends at all in this main field. They're doing all of the pacemaking, and that's for one reason and one reason alone. That's to try and get Peter Sagan, who's always been a very prolific winner here in the United States of America, is hoping to get himself a win on the opening stage here of the USA Pro Challenge.
So the field now, they've got to turn the screw now. They're about a minute. They've got to really close it down now and get them before we get to town. Cannondale still doing all of the chasing here, or they continue on in the pursuit of how they're going to bridge out a minute. So let's go back to Steve Schlanger now and see who he's found to interview. Steve. Yes, and it certainly was a harsh winter in Belgium, coming right through early spring. I don't think spring ever happened this year. All of a sudden, the trees were in leaf. It was so cold. Well, the gap is holding just as the peloton now charge away from Snowmass, heading first of all for that little blip on the horizon at McLean Flats. It's quite a hard one before they line up for the finish. I think they've got to close this gap down pretty quickly, Paul. These boys are hanging on.
Was a change of guard at the front, Phil, we just noticed there. There's Tim Duggan, formerly the USA national champion. Had a very nasty crash in the early part of the season. He's hoping to recover a fraction down towards the end. He'd hoped that he would get himself a selection for the Tour de France, but unfortunately he had a very bad crash and broke his leg.
Yes, and he lost his title. He couldn't get his form back in time. He lost his national championship to Freddie Rodriguez, the aging sprinter, and it was good to see Fast Freddie back in that back in that national champions jersey. He's in the race, Freddie is, as Tim Duggan. He's a Colorado resident, gets back up the peloton here.
There's a different team doing the pacemaking now, Phil, because in fact Team Radio Shack have come to the front. That's obviously under the influence of Jens Voigt, who wants to dish out a little bit of pain once again.
Well, it's very interesting to see this, because I'm wondering, it is only just on 40 seconds now, the gap, but is it coming down quick enough? We've got this small in, as we speak, the race is saying it's now come down to 35 seconds. We've got this little hiccup, and it's quite a nasty little stabby climb, this climb of McLean Flats, before we line up for the last 8.5, 9 kilometers into the finishing line. Well, there was confirmation of that on the whiteboard. 35 seconds it was. We're heading towards the start of that final climb. These three boys are still clear. It's eyes down, though, as the peloton now, led by Team Radio Shack, try to chase them down. Welcome back. Let's have a look at today's race summary presented by Colorado State University. Joe Dombrowski in trouble as she's medical attention. Matt Cook has won the first climb. Craig Lewis got the second sprint. Richie Poore got a fourth place on the climb we've just come over. So all of the big guns starting to fire back in the pack. The gap is now down. 20 seconds is all that remains. All cars in the gap been told to leave the gap here right now. And so the pressure is on. This is Masuda at the back here, the Japanese rider on the Cannondale squad, finding the climbs now, getting at those legs at altitude as the fields snake their way up McLean Flats. The pressure's really gone on at the front now. Chris Froome in the black just passing through our camera there, not looking too good as the pressure's gone on actually. He's admitted that his form isn't as good as it was for the Tour de France. Rowan Dennis, the Australian in blue, he's also just passed off the back. Ian Boswell has dropped away as well as Sif Su also in a spot of bother on Team Sky. Look at the damage done this time up. It's not going to be a total bunch sprint. Is the pressure, Paul, I felt we would have seen a little bit earlier, but the riders have ridden a sensible race at altitude today. But there's some riders in trouble at the back, and Chris Froome is one of them.
Well, Chris Froome, as I said, Phil, he only came over here to the USA Pro Challenge. He only arrived here. Well, it's amazing. He only arrived on the Wednesday night, and I think obviously struggling a little bit with the fact that he rode a number of exhibition races after the Tour de France, and then of course he's come straight up to altitude.
Yeah, he won two of those, we call them exhibition races. They're very hard races, but they're made primarily to entertain. After you've won the Tour de France, he won two of them. This is Chris Froome, though. Remember, he won 3 stages of the Tour de France, which is brilliant. And then taking the lead in the Pyrenees, he held it all the way to the Alps, and finally was the champion on the Champs-Élysées. Absolutely a dream period of his racing career.
I have to say, Phil, before the start of the Tour de France, Chris Froome said he wanted it to be an aggressive race this year, not a calculating race. Well, he made it very, very aggressive and exciting as well. Finished off with a final yellow jersey of the Tour de France.
Well, this may still only be a 4th category climb, the climb on McLean Flats, but it's proved the undoing of quite a few riders here as they start to find. This is Kevin de Maasmaker, who is at the back, getting unhitched as well, racing down towards the airport there.
It gives you an indication of just how hard it's going in the main field now as the gaps come down to a mere 20 seconds. Chris Froome is taking lots of risks to get himself back into this main field. Don't forget that Chris Froome actually started off his career riding mountain bikes as well in Kenya, not too far outside of the capital, Nairobi. And then he represented Kenya in the Commonwealth Games, where he actually participated in all 3 disciplines, the road race, the time trial and the mountain bike.
Well, there is a shorter route on a mountain bike. If you go directly off the right here, there's trails all over these mountains which lead back down to Aspen. But as you can see, Chris in a little bit of trouble here. Jens Voigt said over the weekend, he said, if you don't come here with 2 weeks to go before you ride this race, you're going to be in trouble because of the altitude. Well, it looks as though our three front runners have also split up a little bit here now, as we start more action at the front with Craig Lewis launching an attack there.
Look at the length of the main field now as they really start to put the hammer down. I'm trying to see from the helicopter if it still is. Team Cannondale have come back up to the front there as they go over the little river at the bottom of the valley. But there are two riders from Team Sky here in difficulty trying to get themselves back into the race. And there's Peter Kenyuk, the other rider, just coming up to Chris Froome.
Well, Chris will be grateful of any help on offer right at the moment, as they might get back onto the tail if they're lucky. But there's all sorts of problems now on the climb as well. Craig Lewis has also cracked on the climb himself, as it's just one rider going clear on the climb. It looks like Matt Cook. Here we are, Matt Cook continuing to climb. He's won all of the climbs today, so it doesn't take a mathematician to say he'd be the first leader in the Nissan King of the Mountains. He's ridden exceptionally well for the Jamies Hagen's Berman team.
Well, he's still got about a 20-second advantage over the front end of the main field. He keeps looking around each of those corners, looking for the Nissan banner over the road to indicate that's where the finish of the climb is. It's only 0.7 of a mile, this climb, 3.5%. But after almost 2.25 hours of racing in the saddle, it's starting to hurt.
Joined the team in July, finished 5th in the Canadian race, the Tour de Beauce. And this is the hardest climb of the two. The climb of the Snowmass, much longer, but nothing like as hard, really. And it looks as though we're getting it personified here now by Matt Cook. Clearly feeling he's just about on the end of his strength for the day. Keeps looking over his shoulder, hoping nobody's cleaning up on him. He was with Craig Lewis, who's just sat up and dropped back and gone down to the towards the main field here. There's Flag of Colorado's there. Now, can he just hang on and get maximum points?
Well, for him, the end of his race this afternoon, Phil, is going to be at the top of this climb, which is, while we look back, he's still got a little bit of clear road behind him. As long as he keeps the pressure on in those legs of his, he just might survive to get himself maximum point. But he's really putting himself into the red zone. And that's, as you know, the red zone is when you look at your car accelerator and you can see the number of revs that you shouldn't be using. And that's, I think, where he is right now.
It's all red, because he's got a red team colours and there's a red jersey waits as the first leader of the Nissan King of the Mountains here. Just a chance if he can stay away. He's the only one now. The field have swept up, as you can see behind there, the leading part of the peloton. They've really hurt here. Well, that's the 10 kilometres to go, which means he's not very far from the top of the climb. He won't be interested or even thinking of winning the stage, but he will be the first leader in the King of the Mountains. A possible 16 points, and if he can get over the top just around the corner, then he will have got 16 points today.
He's going to get it. 200 meters to go, and now he's gone inside of that mark there. So he is absolutely hurting himself now, Phil, turning himself inside out to survive. He looks over. That's just to get himself a little bit of reassurance. He's just gone past. That's the 200 meters. Very shortly, it'll be the 100 meters. And then his race could be pretty much over because the main field are right on his tail.
Now, he's got it, but it will be a different second place coming over the top. But that's OK. There he goes over the top of the last climb of the day. First over every climb today. 16 points at stake. Takes them all. He's the first leader tomorrow, and he's going to be wearing that jersey when he starts out of Aspen and goes on to the high pass, 12,500 feet of the Independence Pass. Then we'll see if he's a King of the Mountains.
It doesn't bear thinking about how nasty that's going to be once we go over the summit there. Nobody's got complete control of the front end of the main field, but there's a lot of riders in difficulty at the back, and surprisingly, a lot of the youngsters from the Bontrager team sitting at the back end.
So just a little bit of trouble here for Ian Boswell, for Sky at the back. Well, as we've gone over the top, there's number one, Christian van der Velde. He's OK today. Remember, he's the defending champion. The field so far are regrouping behind him. There's a few riders not going to make it in that bump. But look at this now as they hunt down a very brave battling Matt Cook, who broke away at 6 miles in today of this 61-mile race. And he's going to be caught with about 6 miles to go to the finish, which is the way it's gone. But at least he's got himself a leader's jersey by a fine attacking ride and winning all of the climbs on the circuit today. He is the last survivor of the breakaway, and it looks as though Team Cannondale are leading the charge up towards him here. Cannondale have only one ambition today, and that's to deliver their sprinter, Peter Sagan, down to the finish in Aspen. There is the relationship. Well, he's a very defiant rider, you have to say. Matt Cook today, he's not waiting for them, he's making them race up to him. And so he's not giving up easily. Just now, I think, he's just looked over his shoulder and he's out of the saddle. Well, this will mean that about 8 kilometres still to ride, 5 miles to go to the finish. And that's about where he's going to be brought to book, I think. And that means that what sprinters are left in that group, because that is not the whole entourage of the Pro Challenge at all. They have split up on this last climb. And now he waits. Now we've got just a little group of leaders here, but the main field trying to come across. It looks to me as though Michael Shaw has got here, and that looks to me that he's definitely Peter Sagan has come up. Well, that is amazing. He's not waiting for the sprint. He's now become one of 5 new leaders here in the championship as we race down towards the finish in Aspen. 5 riders clear, and a little bit of a surprised look on Cook's face there as he looked across, and that's caused the alarm bells back in the peloton as they attempt to regroup here. Peter Sagan trying to steal a march, but will he stay clear of that field and be the first man into Aspen and the first man in yellow tonight? Welcome back now as you head towards the finish here. The race at the front is still more or less the same, but they're continuing to split up here. As I can confirm that Matthias Frank went over the mountains in second, and Lachlan Morton rather was in third place, and another young rider here on Team Sky, Edmondson, went over in fourth. But Cook confirmed there's the leader in the King of the Mountains at the moment, as they now continue to split on the race down to the finish in Aspen. As we look down from the camera, we just got those 2 riders just trying to split away from the breakaway, and Sagan not going with them.
I'll tell you one thing, Phil, I would not have predicted that at all. That's a very brave move there by George Bennett to try and get himself off the front end of that group with Peter Sagan. But Team Sky now mustering their forces at the front end of the main field. They're obviously thinking about Joe Dombrowski's chances in this bike race overall. But George Bennett really is a serious character. I was at a function with Davis Finney the other night, to function for his Parkinson Foundation. And this guy was just itching to get himself into the race.
Carter Jones, the American, George Bennett is the New Zealand rider. 2 of them clear at the moment at the front of the race.
They've got about 10 to 12 seconds advantage. Now, Peter Sagan was in the second group on the road, and he really is trying to pull it all back together here this afternoon, because from looking like a certain winner of the opening stage, now he's also on the defensive.
Now, difficult times here, because they've got to assess whether they can chase these down, because Carter Jones is on the Bissell team, a team which is guaranteed to attack every day in races in America, as it always does. And as we look at the Novo Nordisk tracker here, is George Bennett, who is also up front, as Peter Sagan now in that chasing group.
Well, Peter Sagan, you spot him with the lime green jersey. He's not quite sure what he wants to do. I think he's going to sit up and wait for the main field, and that's going to give the advantage, tip the advantage to the 2 men who are now looking to see the banner indicating 5 kilometres to go, 3 miles to the finish. George Bennett and Carter Jones have got about a 10-second advantage over the Peter Sagan group. Sky are the team who have done all of the chasing to pull back Peter Sagan. Sagan's just going to have to sit in the main field now and hope that these 2 riders get pulled back.
Well, it's down to that's all that's left now. They've gone out after Peter Sagan. They brought him back. Now, the 2 riders up front, and we now know why Radio Shack took control over Cannondale as they approached that second climb, because they wanted to leapfrog George Bennett into the front group, and that's exactly what has happened. And now they're free to fly at the moment.
Well, they both have to work very hard together to make sure they stay away from the main field. They've actually stretched their advantage. It's now 20 seconds for George Bennett of Team Radio Shack and Carter Jones over the front end of the main field, which concerns the very, very big favourite for the sprint, Peter Sagan. But he has a bit of a problem, because these 2 guys are looking like they've got a smart advantage.
Well, George Bennett, he turned professional for Team Radio Shack back in 2011 when he was part of the Trek Livestrong team, which again has promoted a promising rider into the top teams of the world. Another example of that now with Bennett as he completes his 2nd full season with Radio Shack, and clearly the team have great confidence in him here to get him up in that breaker. He's in 2nd place in the 2 at the moment. Now, Bennett in second place down there as they continue to race down towards Aspen and heading towards Steve Slanger. So he's down at the finishing line. What do you got, Steve?
Well, Phil, I tell you what, this is one of Peter Sagan's biggest fears. I talked to him before the stage today, and he said that if it's very aggressive racing, especially late, he doesn't know how much energy he could use or would want to use to try and bring it back because he doesn't know how he can sprint given this altitude. He's never done it before. He comes from Europe, did come over 2 weeks early, but that was only training. This is racing, so it was very much an unknown, so his biggest fear was aggressive racing late, and that's exactly what he's got to deal with now.
Yes, and it's the altitude which has caused the problems today, particularly to poor old Joe Dombrowski with that nosebleed, caused, the doctors say, by the altitude, and quite expected amongst the riders. Anyway, the field now snaking their way in towards the finishing line in Aspen. The winner today will wear the first Smashburger race leader's yellow jersey tomorrow. George Bennett, who finished the Tour of Italy this year in 122nd place, up there with Carter Jones. Now, 3 kilometres from the finish, as Peter Sagan is now trying to reposition himself, Paul, into a sprinter's position. He's relying heavily on those two coming back. And you know what, 3 kilometres to go. They may have cracked it.
They could very well have cracked it because they're still holding on to a 20-second advantage. It's now all up to Team BMC. There is Peter Sagan wearing number 51. He's got the stripes of his own national flag down the middle there. He's a national champion of Slovakia. And he will hope that it all comes back together, but he may well have used just a little bit too much force. There are the two riders in front. They're not too far off the front end of the main field, and it's BMC racing now. Michael Schaar, the champion of Switzerland, on the front in that white jersey with the red cross on it. And the fourth rider in that line of BMC riders will be the Belgian rider, Greg Van Avermaet, who won the opening stage this year of the Tour of Utah.
Well, we see Michael Schaar heading up the chase at the front, having been injured in the Tour of France, now coming back to top form. But, you know, we've got 2 former teammates in the breakaway now, Trek Livingstone teammates, and now on rival teams. They know each other, Trek Livestrong at the moment, and they're going down together. It'll be difficult to know, but they know how well each other can finish.
But the problem is, Phil, we've got this slight downhill before they've got a nasty little kicker to bring them around the back end of the main street here in Aspen, and that may well be the undoing of the success of this breakaway. You see, they're both out of the saddle now. They're looking for that little bit of extra speed, that little bit of extra energy, but they've got a serious team organising the chase behind them, and that's BMC.
Well, looking down at Carter Jones, he's no stranger to mountain points because he won the Amgen Tour of California mountain jersey. And also down there, he finished 8th in the Tour of Utah, which he's just finished. And that compares with the 11th of George Bennett. They both rode in the Tour of Utah, but forget it now because there is the pack, led by the champion of Switzerland now, as he brings the race across the gap. Team BMC said they came here to win this race, and they're shutting down the breakaway of these two.
Bear in mind, the man on the front in that white jersey, the Swiss national champion, Phil, Michael Schaar, he was 7th overall in the Tour of Utah. Break over for these two riders, a very brave move by them. Carter Jones insisting a little bit, hoping there'll be some confusion, but these big professional teams very rarely make a mistake like that. Still BMC very much in control, and in fact moving up into the top 10 now. I can just see the shape there of the champion of Slovakia, and that is Peter Sagan. He's not given up.
Well, no, he's seen them come back together. He will have breathed a sigh of relief there, having played a card which didn't work out. But it looks as though Michael Schaar is the man who's bringing them back into the fold here. Team BMC, they've got a lot of players on that team who could win this race overall. They're not going to give it away just now. Riders not least like Andy Schleck or TJ Van Garderen. Or Andy Schleck on Radio Shack, he's sitting in there. TJ Van Garderen, Team BMC, they go under the Maxis. 1 kilometre to go, Banner, as they all come together. Heading up now, we're in for a bunch sprint, Paul, and they're not all there, but it's bigger than I anticipated on this circuit.
Well, I didn't expect it to be quite as simple a stage as it has been, but, you know, it's been very much, I think, the question of the altitude. Now Michael Schaar just comes onto the back wheel there of Carter Jones. 3rd position there is Greg Van Avermaet.
And that's what Team BMC are trying to do now. Greg Van Avermaet, who got a stage when he got 2, in fact, in the Tour of Utah. And they're lining up to see if he can take the first leader's jersey here at the finishing line. That would be a nice card. It would detract from their likely overall winner. in TJ Van Garderen, and a very, very good sign. Shaw still holding command at the front.
Yes, but up into fourth position is Peter Sagan, taking a few risks going around that corner.
This is a very sharp turn here now as they start to go, but look at this now as BMC lead out, but Sagan is coming. He is using this. He's never been here before, but they know he's here now. Peter Sagan is going clear. He gets his 15th win of the year. He reminds us all of his sponsors. The champion of Slovakia has delivered.
Well, he really is a phenomenal athlete. He stayed calm. He went into that breakaway move. He didn't save everything. That's Greg Van Avermaet, who's come across the line in second place. He's a very disappointed rider. His team did all of the work to get him up there. But, you know, when Peter Sagan, Phil, when he can see that finishing line, he's almost unstoppable. There he is, number 51.
And man, not afraid, Paul, even though he knows of his sprinting talent, to attack. We saw him try to go in that group. It didn't work. He recovered with enough to take the sprint out from a man who's on top of his form in Greg Van Avermaet, former champion of Belgium.
Again, obviously listening to the advice of Jens Voigt. If you want to ride well in the USA Pro Challenge, you've got to come to Colorado a couple of weeks beforehand, get yourself acclimatized. He's trained hard around here to get himself to this level. He didn't participate in the Tour of Utah, but he did train hard to get himself this opening victory.
And this is a man who's been winning races since February this year. That's his 15th win of the year. He won 2 stages in the Tour of Oman, where he led that race for a couple of days. We've seen him in action in the Tour de France, where he won for the second year the points competition on the green jersey in that race.
You remember, Phil, when he first came to the Amgen Tour of California a couple of years ago, he couldn't speak a word of English. Yeah. Now he's extremely fluent. He loves coming to race in the United States.
The crowd love him. He got the biggest cheer of everybody when the crowd were introduced to the riders this morning. And now he's back here at the winner after 3 circuits there. He's just poured water over his team masseur there. All that they can do.
Well, he's going to be very happy. He's going to have to try and defend the overall lead tomorrow, though, Phil, because it's going to be very, very difficult when we go over Independence Pass to begin with and Hoosier Pass down towards the end of the day on what will be a long day in the saddle. 126 miles of racing on the recipe for tomorrow.
That is true, and Sagan is not there. No, really, he would never let you down, that man. Last time we saw him do that, he was in the valley at the foot of Mont Ventoux in the Tour de France, where he had no chance of winning that particular day, but that was a victory roll there.
Well, bear in mind, he's had a very incredible... this is where he is, Phil. He's moving himself up into 3rd position there. He's right on the wheel of the Belgian rider, Greg Van Avermaet. Van Avermaet seems to have a great kick there. The power's going, but, you know, then all of a sudden the acceleration comes on the right-hand side, and Peter Sagan, he can see the finishing banner, judges it to perfection and gets himself that victory. Look at the power of this young man.
Yeah, Van Avermaet himself has struck 4 times this year, but no hope against the man who's now struck 15 times this year, Peter Sagan.
We're looking at a man who's been world champion in cyclocross and mountain bike racing, European champion in mountain bike racing, and he is developing into a very, very talented professional bike rider. Phil, I just can't believe it. He's still only 23 years of age.
Let's have a look at the United Healthcare stage results. And Peter Sagan getting his win early on this week. Greg Van Avermaet, who won the stage at the Tour of Utah, getting one here in 2nd place this time. Kiel Reinen, a good sprint by the United Healthcare rider, in 3rd place. Tony Gallopin in 4th. He had a good win recently in the San Sebastian Classic. Looking further down, Lucas Yuso rode well in Utah, 8th here. Chris Baldwin completing the top 10. So that's the order of the finishing line for the sprinters. We'll take a break. When we come back, of course, we'll catch up with the rides. We'll see the prize presentation. There's the man of the day. He can do it on one wheel. Peter Sagan, the winner. We'll see you back here in a moment. And let's begin with the Cliff Bar Meet the Moment. And there was no doubt where this one was going for.
Nope, Peter Sagan did it absolutely perfectly. He was in 2nd position coming into the last 100 metres, right on the wheel of the Belgian rider, Greg Van Avermaet. But once he saw the finishing banner, the turbo whistled once again. He charged for the line for a very clean win over the Belgian. He treated this one right down to perfection.
Peter Sagan notching his 15th win, and as always, now he celebrates with a wheelie here in front of the crowd at Aspen. That's our Cliff Bar Meet the Moment. Let's go down then and check out on the podium. Here he comes, Peter Sagan, the first man to pull on the Smashburger race leader's yellow jersey.
You know, this man, Phil, you cannot call him just a sprinter. He's a versatile professional bike rider. Even had the audacity to go out on a breakaway on the running towards the finish line and recovered to put himself into the right place to get himself win on stage number 1.
That's what makes him so popular with the people. This guy is not afraid of attacking, even though he knows of his great ability to deliver the killer blow in the sprint finish. So the first yellow jersey of this year's Pro Challenge. Peter Sagan. It wouldn't be complete without the kisses from the podium girls, Courtney and Cassandra. As we look here now at the overall United Healthcare standing, Sagan ahead in the sprint here of Van Avermaet and Kiel Reiner.
Of United Healthcare in 3rd place, Tony Galopin in 4th place, and TJ Van Garderen creeping inside of the top 5. A bit further down, Rory Sutherland being very attentive for Team Saxo Bank in 7th, and Tom Danielson in 9th.
All right, let's go backstage now, because Peter Sagan is now with Steve Slack.
Peter, what were you thinking late in the stage, and how did you get this win?
I don't know. I think I did good work when I been here 2 weeks in the altitude. I prepared in here in Aspen. I knowing all the road here, and also I maybe been a little bit more get used like another riders. And after I tried be on the front in the breakaway, after I said it's better wait for the finish in the sprint, and then it's gone very good for me.
Well done, thanks.
And I must say thank you for all my team, because Cannondale was on the front all the day for the pulling the group, and it's work all the team.
All right, congratulations, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Delivered, didn't he, Paul?
Well, it just goes to show, Phil, practice makes perfect, and the fact that he came here 2 weeks before this event just goes to show how high the esteem is that the riders hold the USA Pro Challenge.
Yeah, let's have a look at all of the podium leaders today. In fact, Peter Sagan has got himself the lead in 3 competitions here. As he comes on, he's also the leader in the Cliff Bar Green Jersey sprint competition. And, Paul, he's taken on the best young rider, which is from the Colorado State University.
Yeah, and best young rider, the most courageous rider, just over on the right-hand side, Craig Lewis. Good ride by him.
And the Nissan King of the Mountains in that red jersey there is Matt Cook. He won all 4 climbs today. Big climb tomorrow, though, Paul. Goes out over 12,000 feet as we head out of town over the Brute, the Independence Pass.
Well, it's not very far as the crow flies to get to Breckenridge, but as we leave Aspen, we go over Independent Pass. Massive big climb to start off the day. Then turn towards the south and through Princeton and Buena Vista, and then another very big climb as we start to head back up towards Breckenridge, because there's some nasty climbs out on the course, a Hoosier Pass, and then we finish down in Breckenridge.
Yes, and all in all, it's a ride of 126 miles. It's a long way tomorrow, and I think it'll be a warm one as well for the riders. It's up and over, down below, and up and over, and down to the finish. That's on the menu tomorrow. So let's have a look as we hope you will join us here on NBCSN. Stage 2, Aspen to Breckenridge, comes to you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget that. For a full schedule as well, log on to NBCSports.com. We'll tell you all about our cycling coverage. And for all race information, visit ProChallenge.com. All of our clothing provided by Perlizumi. And tomorrow is a big test day, especially if you're a sprinter by the name of Peter Sagan. Hope you've enjoyed our opening day of 7 here at the USA Pro Cycling Challenge. For Paul Showing and all of the team, goodbye.